Everyone, welcome to another workshop conducted by Mind Tribe. Today, I, Shweta Patel, a senior psychologist here, and along with me, I have Angela, Liz, Shikha, who will be presenting on the topic how small traumas affect our daily life. So, we'll separately be talking about what happens if these trauma are not resolved or processed, how it affects our current life, and when we have to seek help. What changes can you do right now in your life if you're going through this emotionally, or maybe physically, or behaviorally. Yeah. So also just the basic rules you have to, if there are any questions about anything, please put them on the chat. And if you want to share an experience, you can raise your hand. And you are not supposed to record this presentation, you can just take down notes. All right. uh, can you move to the next slide, Angela? Hello, am I audible? Yeah, thank you. So, where everybody talks about normal traumas that they have gone through in childhood, but what is basically small trauma? It is also known as micro traumas or small t, that refers to less severe but distressing events that accumulate over time. Small trauma, it is actually that has been happening since childhood or currently also happening right now, that have been really emotionally disturbing or emotionally overwhelming, and you finding it difficult to cope. Now it affects your current life, either behaviorally through some kind of behavior that is not suitable, or maybe emotionally you going through some resentment, guilt, blame, insecurity, etc. All right. Some examples can be, these are some basic example that is mentioned in the slide, but there can be having not a good relationship with one of your parents, either mom or dad, or maybe somebody who has pointed out your flaws lot of time, maybe by your relatives or maybe by family members, siblings, and anyone. Or maybe you were compared in your childhood, or maybe you are compared right now in your life, or maybe friends who have boycotted you in the past or are doing it right now, or even all these stresses at work that has been happening. Maybe your work is getting overlooked by uh, and it is not based upon on your performances. So these all traumas accumulate, small trauma accumulate, and it affects you. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So this is a little icebreaker for everyone to just get to know if you understand what small traumas are. So do you think small school and academic stress comes in small traumas? You can write yes or no in the chat box. Yeah, thank you, Zainab, Aisha, for answering. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Sorry, what about daily life hassles? Daily life hassles can be, your household work, or maybe your work and everything, maybe your office work. So does that can be coming in small traumas? Yes, thank you for answering. Yes, you're all correct. Does social exclusion comes in small traumas? Like if there's someone who's excluding you in your family, or maybe with your friends, or maybe at work, in relationship, not considering your decisions. Okay, thank you. Yes, yes, I understand that, Ajay. Thank you for answering. Yes, all of you are correct. What about living condition? Does also that comes in? Okay. Yes, again, absolutely, you are all correct. Living condition also contributes to small traumas, because living every day in same situation and not able to get out of it, and might be overwhelming you, can cause a lot of stress, and it if it is not processed, it affects you. Okay, did somebody raise hand? Yeah, Divya, please go ahead. Do you have any question?
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, then you can lower your hand. Yes, then can we move on to the next slide, Angela? Thank you. So basically, when these small traumas have been accumulated over time, and it has been causing you a little distress, and so these are some emotional problems that we face right now. Okay, these are considered very normal emotions, but that can also be happening because of what you have been going through or have gone through. So the first is sadness or depression. So because there is persistent low mood and accumulation of small traumas due to any situation that has been happening or has happened in the past. Okay. uh, can you think of any example that can come in depression or sadness? If you are going through, please mention in the chat box. I would really appreciate if you do that. Yeah, so I will move on to the next emotion, that is self doubt or questioning one's ability. Okay, that happens because when you are constantly criticized by someone, maybe a teacher in your fifth grade, or maybe by your friends in a class, or maybe your best friend, by your parent, anyone. If you are being rejected by your peers, this all comes down to self doubt. Okay, the next is fear. Okay, so again, fear also as an emotion accumulates over time. The fear can be of failing an exam, or maybe being bullied in school, criticized by parents, of maybe you don't dress that way, or you don't look good in front of others, all about that. And fourth is emotion as guilt. Okay, guilt comes in when, again, just give me a minute. Yes, so guilt also as an emotion accumulates because you start feeling that you have done something wrong and you are the one who is at fault. So there's a lot of guilt comes up when all these emotions are not processed at the time when you're going through. Okay, these are four emotions. We'll talk about four more. Next slide, Angela. Yes, resentment. You all know what resentment means. If you being overly cared or caring for somebody in your family, and you have not been able to give that, the respect is not reciprocated. You always feel that resentment, and that is also growing every day. If it is not talked about, be it with any friends, any co-worker in your work, in your work situation or work life relationship as well, when you don't discuss some amount of situation that has been causing you distress, and you feel the other person, whatever he or she is saying, is right, then you hold that resentment against that person. Yeah, the next is anxiety. Anxiety is a common emotion that we feel. I think it can be happen with lot of other things, but anxiety is also an emotion that develops over time. And when it is developing, it is kind of boiling up in your body, and it comes out in certain situations, small situations, maybe going out, or maybe talking to somebody, or maybe feared of presenting anything. Okay, third is exhaustion. Exhaustion comes in when you're, again, you are doing something out of your willing and you're not appreciated, you are not looked in that direction, you feel exhausted physically, you drain down. Next is insecurity. This emotion as comes because you kind of doubt your own skills, your social skills, your worthiness, that you are not worthy of being included, you are not good enough, or maybe you are doing things wrong. So these are all these things that comes in as an insecurity, because maybe you we have been feeling all this because we have been rejected, maybe by peers or social groups, or maybe we are in a relationship that has lot of emotional abuse, that and that kind of feeling boils down to insecurities. Okay, next slide. Yeah, I think this part is Angela's.
Thank you, Shweta. Hi, everyone. Can someone please confirm if I am properly audible?
Yes, Angela, you're
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. So let's begin. Now we'll delve deeper into the consequences of these little traumas in our lives. So, first, we'll talk about anxiety. So, you know how I think at one point we in our lives we all have experienced anxiety in some or the other way. Now, anxiety is a very personal experience for everyone. Uh, I want you all to take a moment and think about a time in your life when you felt this emotion. There could be excessive worry, this very vague uneasiness feeling in yourselves, restlessness, there is often irritability and sleep disturbances that often come with anxiety. And there are a lot of cognitive things like, you're thinking, you go in a negative loop when you're feeling anxious. So, anxiety is a difficult feeling to sometimes deal with. And these chronic low level stressors, which can be our little traumas, can lead to heightened anxiety when persisted over time. The brain's response to repeated micro trauma can become overactive, which can lead to persistent anxiety. Now, some examples of these triggers can be workplace stress. For example, maybe you all can think about your school or your college or your workplace, and when something is coming at you for a long time, that pressure and that stress, it can lead to anxiety or family conflicts and social pressures. So if there is some conflict going on in the family which is very personal to you, which is very stressful to you, and it goes on for a prolonged period of time, that can again lead to anxiety or feeling anxious. So, can all of you give me a thumbs up if you have been in this situation where these little traumas and difficult situations have led to anxiety? Okay. So now let's move on to the next consequent emotion of these micro traumas, that can be depression. So now, what is depression? Depression can be this persistent feeling of sadness, anxiety, and feelings of emptiness sometimes, feelings of hopelessness, pessimism, irritability. However, it is very important to know that depression is very severe and should not be confused with just sadness. There can be a loss of interest and pleasure in hobbies when these micro traumas are so persistent and prolonged in our lives. So now these micro traumas can contribute to feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, and persistent sadness. When there is so much stress coming from one direction in our life, we often start to lose hope that things will get better and go into a depressive cycle where there are these persistent feelings of sadness. And then this continuous exposure to small stressors can lead to a depressive outlook. We may think that things will never get better, and maybe the world is unfair, and these negative thoughts come in the loop when these little traumas become so prolonged in our lives. Now, the next thing is PTSD like symptoms. Now, PTSD stands for post traumatic stress disorder. So, traditionally linked to major traumas, like loss of a loved one or war-like situations. Now, these are major traumas that are often linked with PTSD symptoms. However, small traumas can also cause symptoms which are similar to PTSD, such as hypervigilance or intrusive thoughts. So, I think a lot of women in our country have experienced this. That after a difficult or a very worrisome or a fearful situation, because I think most of the women have been through in our country. After that interaction of maybe someone, some dark area or some fearful situation, you often develop that fearful response or hypervigilance in yourself when you're going in that experience again. So these little traumas or these little situations, small traumas, can again lead to these feelings of hypervigilance and intrusive thoughts. Have you been through such a situation? If you have, give me a thumbs up. Another situation that comes to my mind is that, sometimes your boss can be really hard at you for not being able to accomplish a goal. And then the next time you're not able to do that, that fear response goes into your system. And then, the next time you are going back with a work report or back with a feedback or a review, then there is a lot of hypervigilance or negative thought loop in your mind. So these little things can actually make a lot of difference in your actual life. Thank you for your response, everyone. So now the last consequence that you will be talking about today is the somatic symptoms. Now somatic means anything that you might be able to see on your physical self. And a lot of times you must have noticed that stress gives you headaches, gastrointestinal issues, or chronic pain can manifest if these stressors have been there for a prolonged period of time. Have you ever experienced when you're stressful, you might come up with a headache or your stomach gets upset? Right. So there are many studies which have found that the stress has a very negative impact on your body and can lead to physical symptoms as well, and it shows on your body. Now Liz will be taking over from here.
Thank you, Angela. I will be adding on to what Angela has spoken so far. She has mentioned what we could possibly experience. I will be talking about the behaviors that we can show. So when someone goes through a minor trauma, and as explained, it is a small but repeated stressful event, right? And this will have an effect on a person's cognitive and emotional processing. This also includes impairments in judgments. So let's think about someone who keeps thinking of everything as a threat, right? It's called overgeneralization of threat. So the person may start to see danger where there is no danger, believing that something similar, even though it's small, even though it's non-threatening, it will still lead to a negative outcome. This is what makes a person extremely sensitive to any stressor in the environment. When we talk about decision making, we see how someone who always thinks that and who always focuses on the negative outcomes of a situation, they can also have a pessimistic thinking. They underestimate opportunities or overestimate taking risks. So, for example, after failing a few small tasks, they may start believing that they will fail in all future tasks. And this can impact their willingness to try new things or even to make decisions. Such is the focus and concentration on a task also gets affected over here because we are so focused on thinking of the negative impact that might come as a result of what we are doing that we no longer are able to do what we are supposed to do, right? The emotional dysfunctions over here can be, as Angela said, it includes anxiety, it includes hypervigilance, right? The person becomes overly sensitive to potential stressors or perceived threats in their environment, and it leads to a heightened sense of alertness. So, take for example a person feeling persistently anxious in social situations after experiencing repeated small rejections, right? Now they're constantly worrying about how they're being perceived or judged rather than what they're supposed to do in a social situation. Feelings of guilt can come in when they have been involved in repeated criticism or rejection. This can damage their self-esteem over time, leading them to blame themselves. The negative feedback that they get, they tend to from others, they might tend to internalize and they tend to blame themselves and think that I am not worth it. I won't be able to do it. Why am I like this? Aggression can be when a person is constantly irritated or when they get so many negative feedbacks about each and every action that they do, they no longer want to try something. It can lead to that, or it can be that they are very irritated with others. They show out the upset that they have with themselves. They show it out on others. And there's also the fact that some people can be numb. So these are different ways in which people can behave when they experience rejections or any small trauma, so to speak. Over time, people can behave in different manners. They can either be very angry with any sort of negative feedback. They can be very anxious about it. They can also be very numb about it. They just don't want to put any sort of emotion to whatever the other people say. This can be good and this can be bad because they might not be able to feel positive experiences, positive situations in their lives as well. Memory can also be affected such that a person can have fragmented memory, right? So any memory that relates to one specific event can be fragmented. So the person may remember parts of an event, but the important details they might miss out because while it was an important event, it was still a negative one for them. They can also emphasize on negative memories only. How was your childhood like? Oh, my childhood was very bad. You know, they generalize that it was just a bad thing, nothing good happened. This is just a way that they might think. It is not a good or a bad way to think. It is just a behavior that can come up as a result of being have or going through small traumas all throughout your life. Flashbacks I've highlighted over here because yes, they are typically associated with more severe trauma, but minor traumas can also cause flashbacks and intrusive thoughts over here. And these are often triggered by situations that remind the person of the original trauma, as that memory is also very emotionally charged. Another way of behaving could be panic attacks when a person feels like they're losing control over their life because it's the same thing. What happened years ago, the same thing is happening again, and now they no longer have any control. And it just gets very overwhelming for them. They might even get these negative feelings come in their dreams, causing them to have nightmares, and they might be constantly on edge, so on edge for a long time that your body just spirals out of control and you get a panic attack. These are all various behavioral effects that can happen if someone goes through a lot of small trauma consistently over time. Can we go to the next page, next slide, Angela? Right. Let's talk about the physical symptoms over here. Angela did explain, but I'd like to explain a little more about the sleep disturbances. Because trauma causes hyperarousal, it makes the body and the mind quite rigid, and it is very difficult to relax. And if you're having difficulty relaxing, you probably won't be able to sleep. Again, like Angela mentioned, headaches, right? All of this is caused due to tension in your muscles, and when there is extreme tension in your the muscles from your neck on top, it can cause you to have a headache. Gastrointestinal issues. So the gut brain connection means emotional stress can manifest as a digestive problem. It can be nausea, cramping, or IBS. Chronic stress disrupts normal digestion, potentially leading to changes in appetite, bloating, or even irregular bowel movements. Let's talk about immune system suppression. Ongoing stress from small traumas can weaken the immune system, making the body more susceptible to infections and in illnesses like cold or flu. The body's prolonged stress response can also slow down the healing process, leading to longer recovery times from sickness or injury. Increased heart rate. So when anxiety and stress, when they are linked to trauma, and they trigger the flight or fight response, causing palpitations or an elevated heart rate even in non-threatening situations. And this response can also lead to panic attacks, like I mentioned earlier, where the heart races, creating discomfort and a sense of losing control. Let me go to the next slide, please. Emotional symptoms. Emotional numbness, like I mentioned, when we try to cope with the pain of trauma and having gone through trauma for a long time. One of the ways a person can cope would be to just distance themselves from the pain, right? This is one that becomes emotional numbness. Next would be hypervigilance. Again, when you're very alert for any stressor in the environment and you can no longer relax. Like I mentioned earlier, irritability. Another way of a person behaving would be to just constantly be irritated with what anything and everyone says. Any stressor which another person thinks was just, oh, it's just part of daily life, is no longer part of daily life for this person. Anger, when they're unable to manage the emotions the way it is supposed to be managed. Anger comes in, and anger over here, please keep in mind that anger is a protective emotion. It is there to protect you, but it becomes a problem when, what are you protecting yourself from? And why do you have to turn this way to protect yourself? Like I mentioned earlier, concentration issues will happen because you're so focused on the problem that you can no longer focus on what is there around the problem. You're so focused on your point of fear, right? And you keep worrying. Your worry is persistent. There is no moment of peace, no moment of calm, no moment of being able to live in the present. It's always worrying about the future. So all of this can be what holds us in rather than helping us solve a situation. Angela, can you go to the next slide, please? The next slide. Right. And this will be taken on by Angela.
Yes, Liz. So now let's see, everyone, how these little traumas impact on our daily life. So relationships. You know how these relationships, strained interactions with family, friends, and colleagues are sometimes more stressful than it sounds like, and it really bothers us and it impacts us in a way that causes a lot of stress in our life and leads to difficulty in trusting others and forming close relationship. There are feelings of isolations when our relationships are not solid, and this can also lead to a lot of stress in our life. Loneliness sometimes also comes when we are around other people. Have you been in a space where you have been around people and you're surrounded by people, but you're still feeling alone? Yes, and these things are not considered as stressful as they really are because they impact us in our daily lives and they make us feel more stressful than we let it be, and we don't talk about these things openly. Additionally, work and productivity. Now, again, a very huge stressor sometimes comes from a person's workplace and their ability to be productive in life. So, when there is a decreased ability to focus and complete tasks efficiently, this becomes a cycle. You are not able to focus on work and you're not able to be productive, and then that leads you to not do good in outer life and also leads to feelings of guilt and difficult emotions, and that cycle has a very huge impact on ourselves in a daily life. There is difficulty adhering to a regular work schedule. Now, let's be honest. We all have been there where it has been really hard to be consistent in life. It is hard to be consistent in physical exercise routine or just be as productive as we are on our best days. So, these things, not being able to be consistent or not being able to be as productive as we can be every single day, also puts a lot of pressure on us. There is feelings of unfilled or dissatisfied with work, which leads to burnout. Now, a lot of workplaces, they're not ideal. Either we are working a lot, either we are not passionate about the work that we're doing, we do not like our jobs, or we are doing too much work at our workplaces that we it leads to a burnout. Especially, we have been seeing the news how right now there is so much work when people are even working at the biggest MNCs that it is leading to a loss of life. So these things, these little things actually have a huge impact on our daily life, which leads to burnout. Decision making. Now, sometimes we tend to take excessive time to make even simple decisions, or we procrastinate on decisions to avoid potential negative outcomes. Things are not always black or white. It's not always easy to choose between two things in life. or two choices in life. So sometimes we just avoid taking that decision, or we uh, just try to delay it as much as possible. However, even that is stressful. Have you all been in that situation where you have tried to procrastinate things to avoid being stressful about it, or avoid dealing with the consequences of your decision? Right. We often also avoid new opportunities or experiences due to the fear of failure. How many times we see that, doing something is so risky that we avoid doing it altogether, because that fear of failure often stops us from taking that one step. So now all these things, they seem very simple. However, in daily life, it all accumulates and become a lot for a person to deal with. Lastly, self-care. However, right now there is a trend of self-care in this world. Still, it's very hard to take care of oneself in the rightest manner. Lack of attention to physical appearance and cleanliness. There is choosing unhealthy foods due to lack of motivation to cook or healthily. There is lack of energy and motivation to stay active. So, like we were discussing in the previous slide as well, we know it is hard to stay consistent in going to the gym or for a walk or a run every single day. Or even if you do go one day, maybe after 3, 4 days, you just lose the motivation and you stop going. So, it is just so hard to maintain that energy and motivation which helps you stay active. Same goes for the unhealthy food habits. Right now, there is such a huge trend and it's so accessible. There are so many apps that the food reaches your doorstep in like 20 to 30 minutes. And that is such an easier option. So we always tend to choose the unhealthy options over the healthier ones, because cooking needs effort, and right now, because of accessibility, we choose the unhealthy over the healthy. But are we really taking care of ourselves, our physical selves, our mental selves, if you're not going for a physical workout, or not cooking for ourselves, or choosing the healthy foods? So it is very important to always choose caring for oneself, because this will help us deal with life stressor and these little traumas effectively, because lack of self-care can in itself become a small trauma. Now Shikha will be taking over.
Yeah, how's it going? All good? So, this is that time. Great, great, great. So, this is that time on YouTube when a quick ad pops up. We have a short ad break for you here. Okay. So, don't worry, this will be really quick. Next slide, please, Angela. So, what is this one on one counseling? This is a personalized, confidential chat between you and a trained therapist. You're having someone who listens to you, understands you, and help you figuring out the things that you've been struggling with. Um, Helps you in the personal growth, solving problems, setting goals, boosting your mental well-being. So it's a for your own well-being. Now, next slide, please, Angela. Angela. Okay. So this is the hugely widely spread misconception that counseling is only for those who are unwell. It's not true. Counseling is for anyone who wants to see their best self. You talk about your job, college, dream, friends, relationship. It just makes the best version of you. Now, next slide, please, Angela. Benefits of Mind Tribe Counseling. Here we have the super talented psychologists, counselors who are well experienced, extensively trained, and affordable. So we have a huge range that is ranging from 500 to 5,000. And the best part is that the first session is free. So you get comfortable with your counselor or psychologist, and then you take a call on what pack suits your needs as per your convenience. Right. Angela, next slide, please. If there is any urgent question, you have your time here to ask. We all are here to help you out. Yes, Kapil?
So, as you said, first session is free with the counselor. So, in case we don't feel comfortable or we feel this is not the right counselor, so then we get another session to speak to another counselor?
As per the company protocol, you get only one free session. So you can go on the site and go through the counselor's profile. You pick your best that suits you, and you book your first free session.
All right, thank you.
Right? Okay. Anyone has any question? All right. Angela, next slide, please. All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. This is Shikha Lavania, specialist psychologist at Mindtribe. And my expertise focuses on managing anxiety, depression, and trauma related emotional dysregulation. And I am here today to address some unhealthy coping mechanism that we fall for in order to escape the pains these incidents bring to us. So, how do you cope with stress? Now take a moment to think about how you typically cope with stress or any challenging situations for that matter. Are there any habits, behaviors you rely on? Yes, Kapil?
So, once I mostly had a stress with because of some sibling. So, whenever he said something which is very unwanted and which I really not, I would say, gentle or decent. So then that thing keep going on in my mind. Now how can he say that? What should I do? क्या मैं भी उसको वही सब बोल दूं? And
Right.
that kept coming. और फिर आपको कई बार ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि you always have two brains, one which brings anger and one which gives logical वो. फिर आपका लॉजिकल ब्रेन कहता है कोई फायदा नहीं है, यू आर एजुकेटेड पर्सन, ही इज नॉट एजुकेटेड, इफ यू से समथिंग टू हिम ही माइट से समथिंग मोर व्हिच यू विल फील बैड अगेन. सो वो जो दुविधा है कि नहीं बोलना या नहीं कन्फ्रंट करना से स्ट्रेस खुद का बढ़ रहा है, कन्फ्रंट करेंगे तो सिचुएशन और वर्स हो सकती है.
Right.
तो जो
So,
दुविधा है दोनों के बीच की वो बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग है और
yeah.
बहुत बहुत तंग करती है.
Yes. So, Kapil, just get a pen and paper, or in your head only. You think about how you cope with the stress. How you soothe yourself. Okay, in your head or on your paper. Just keep it to yourself for now, and let me move forward. And you get your answers, I hope, eventually. And if not, we will address all the questions at the end. Make sense? Right. So now, again, in your head or get a pen and paper, think about it. When you are facing some challenging situation or in stress, how do you cope? How do you soothe yourself? Is there any habit, behavior that you rely on that might be considered unhealthy in general, however, providing you a temporary relief? On the chat box, keep it to yourself if you want, but just think about it. Now reflect on how they might be impacting your long term well being. How are these affecting your daily life, your relationships, and overall health? What do you think might change if you were to replace these with some healthier strategies? You can use the chat box. Okay. Angela, next slide, please. So let's start by discussing some common and healthy coping mechanism that people often turn to when dealing with small traumas or stress or when anxious. So these one may provide short-term relief, but they often lead to long-term harm. So, for example, we have this avoidance behavior, right? So this might look like procrastination, disengagement from daily tasks. You might be immersing yourself into social media, TV, gaming, just to avoid your emotion, your feeling that you are feeling right now. The intention is not here to watch some content, but the intention here is to distract yourself from what you are feeling. Now, there's a right. Now, there is a substance use. This includes increased reliance on alcohol, drugs, and the most commonly used is food as a form of self-soother medication. Soother sounds better. So while these substances might offering a temporary relief, there is often a need to use more and more to maintain the same level of relief, which is causing the dangerous dependencies. Right. Now the other thing is emotional numbing. This is little complicated. Um, Here you see this coming in your behavior. You start suppressing your emotions, detaching yourself from the feelings, from the relationships, which is literally making difficult for you only to experience joy or positive emotions. This is just creating the sense of hollowness, empty, disconnect from life. Like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm not sad, but I'm not sure if I'm happy. And the best part, this is my personally favorite, which is really interesting, the perfectionism and overworking. This people usually take pride in. This on surface looks very productive. You're literally into something very focused. But if this is a coping mechanism, this is supremely unhealthy. You start overcompensating by working excessively, detaching yourself from yourself, and striving for something which is unattainable, thinking from your rational mind, what is my attainable goal as of now? You start striving for unattainable standards, which leads to burnout along with the physical exhaustion. Right now, this is again very common, which is a negative self-talk. So, persistent feeling of guilt, shame, self-blame. These start reinforcing your negative self-image, right? So, like, I am not enough. Maybe I'm not worthy. I don't do anything right. There is something wrong with me. Maybe I don't deserve this. These kind of things. And eventually what happens when you start thinking this way along the time, this when you're practicing these kind of thoughts for a very long time, this becomes your belief at some point. And when it becomes your belief at some point, you eventually start isolating yourself. uh, Angela, please move the slide. Yes. Thank you so much, who's ever is pointed out. So you eventually start isolating yourself, withdrawing yourself from the social circle. So you'll see that when you have this immense negative self-talk or these kind of coping mechanism you are using in a way, you Now, consciously trying your best to avoid paradox. So, but this is actually increasing the feeling of loneliness and sense. Is anyone here relating to what I'm saying? Okay, right. So finally, right. So finally, after all these kind of mechanisms that we are using for ourselves, there is stage coming where it will start depicting itself in our behavior, which is uh, called impulse control. So you may start engaging in some risky behaviors. So, for example, reckless spending, right? Gambling, sexual impulsivity. You start having delaying any other sort of gratification. You're having a lot of hard time to control your impulse, and you're just tending into that direction, which can again lead to further complications. And whatever is going with you, within you, is one thing, but now at this point it becomes visible to others also through your behavior towards them. So these all are the broader pattern of literally self-destructive or dysregulated behaviors that one is using to cope with underlying emotional stress, trauma, or any other mental health issue. Right? Next slide, please, Angela. Okay. So, in addition to all these points that we have discussed, it's important to now understand the long term consequences to these unhealthy coping mechanisms. Over time, behaviors like avoidance, substance use, emotional numbing, overwork, these all are having some serious physical impacts, like my fellow mates have addressed before, Angela and Liz have addressed this before, that eventually everything starts manifesting themselves onto your physical appearance. So, it will start impacting your physical health, like you start observing the chronic stress. It will start impacting your sleep. You may start observing the fluctuations in your blood pressure. You will start noticing its impact on your gut health. You will start observing it in your skin, hair, eventually everywhere that is within you, eventually everywhere that is around you. So substance dependency can also develop along the time, which is again a vicious cycle and pretty hard to break. So mentally, these coping strategies is only increasing your anxiety. You're trying your best to reduce it, but with all these attempts, it is actually increasing. So it's like a paradox. It is increasing your anxiety, you're going deeper into depression, and even exacerbating your mental health conditions, which eventually will start straining your relationships. You may start withdrawing more, become irritable more, so engaging in more unhealthy behaviors. So this is it. This is the cycle you don't have a control on if you don't decide to get things in your control consciously. Now, for example, to bring everything, whatever I've said or covered so far, to bring this into the perspective, let me share a very brief example. So imagine someone who is having such adverse experiences in life, okay, and this has become a chronic pain. Now, to avoid this pain, this person gets into the alcohol consumption. Now, this relaxes him for that time. He forgets his troubles. He sleeps well that night. Second night he does. Third night he does. But over time, this person will start needing more alcohol to achieve the same effect if they are not addressing the root cause rationally, because our brain is designed in a way it gets adapt of dopamine very quickly. It develops the tolerance level very quickly, so it starts asking for more and more. Now, when you do not take a call for yourself rationally, this only starts affecting not only your health but also your life outside, the people who are in your life. So, what began as a very seemingly harmless way to cope, it starts spiraling down to much larger problem. This creating a cycle of avoidance and harm, making it more and more difficult to come out of it. Okay. So, Angela, next slide, please. Okay, so now let's explore how therapy can serve as a catalyst for healing and growth, how to break this vicious cycle, especially for those who have developed some kind of a coping mechanism which is actually not working for them, for their well being. Um, you can do the self therapy on the sheer willpower. Why not? God bless you all if this works for you. But in case you feel you're trying your best, but it's not working for you, even trying relentlessly, you're not seeing the result. In fact, you're spiraling down this time with the double speed. I sincerely suggest you to come for therapy in a professional setup, because this is a structured map that these professionals chart out for you know, your own unique needs, because every individual is different from one another. Okay, so there is one teacher sitting over your head, but little kinder, strict. Okay. So first and foremost, professional setup therapy provides a safe space for exploration. So which is absolutely non-judgmental. You process your emotions here. You've been encouraged to be more and more honest with yourself. It's not for the therapist, but for yourself. You're encouraged to be more honest. And once you start becoming more honest with yourself, there the healing starts. There the self discovery starts, which is one essential thing for the healing. Now, through therapy, individuals can start identifying and understanding their own triggers. Um, Somebody asked me before, what triggers tell about you? Triggers mainly tell about your unresolved conflict in the past that you have not made peace with. Okay. So, here in this setup, you start recognizing your own triggers. You understand the root cause of this unhealthy coping mechanism that you're falling into. You help start connecting the past incidences with your present behavior. So in a way, you're becoming more aware about yourself, about your journey so far, which is one critical step towards a change if you want to. So now our primary focus is on developing a healthy coping strategies. This might include learning effective techniques for managing stress and emotions. So mindfulness and relaxation is one thing. this is how you start managing your day, like with the self-soothing activities. You start replacing your old not so good ways that you've been using so far, and start promoting things that starts working for you, building you. Now the most crucial part of the therapy is, which is the most important part, is the reframing the negative thoughts. So cognitive restructuring helps individuals challenging and changing their own negative self-talk. Okay. Which is again the most important work. This self-compassion, this self-awareness, this self-discovery, this is the thing. These are the components that builds you all over in a way that how much time this will happen varies from person to person. Now coming to the building emotional resilience. Next slide, please. Angela, next slide. Yeah. So once your self-esteem, which is your own image, what you feel about yourself, is being restored, you start trusting yourself. So the points that we have discussed before about the reframing the negative talk and developing more better coping strategies and understanding your triggers, everything when it comes about being aware of yourself with kindness, you start trusting yourself. And when you start trusting yourself, this is the point when you start building the emotional resilience. What it does is it starts giving you ability to cope with any kind of future stressors in a more manageable way. Okay. So reconnecting with others is another important aspect. As humans, we thrive on connections. So we try our best to re-establish of social connections start happening in one's life. We encourage while facilitating communication skills, and boundary setting. Okay, so finally, this is the professional setup therapy that fosters more of a self-discovery, self-advocacy, which eventually make you feel more empowered about yourself. So it encourages individuals to finally take a control of their own life, of their own healing journey, right? So this is it. This is all I had to share here with you all. If there is any question now, this is the time. The floor is yours. Yes, Kapil.
So I was asking about that trauma thing. That's, for example, somebody very close to me abused me or said something which is very much unacceptable. Right now, that has become a trauma. I could not react at that time. I should have said the same thing or maybe reciprocated in the same manner. Maybe, but I, because being a different personality, I did not couldn't do it, and it took me time to absorb what happened, that impact. So now there are two options. Either I avenge, I say something similar to them and then feel happy, or I just ignore it. Ignoring doesn't work because then वो कहीं ना कहीं ट्रॉमा अगर बन गया है, कुछ लोग होते हैं उनको नहीं बनता है, वो बात करते हैं भूल जाते हैं, इट्स ओके। कुछ लोग सेंसिटिव होते हैं उनको बन जाता है। सो अब वो ट्रॉमा बन गया है तो वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं पोक करता रहेगा। अब वो बंदा आपके सामने आएगा बिकॉज बीइंग अ फैमिली मेंबर, तो आपको इरिटेशन होगी, आपको मेमोरी याद आएगी, आपका मन करेगा कुछ उसको उल्टा सीधा बोलने का। और secondly, as you said, for therapy, if I come to therapy, you will say the same things which I can say to myself, that this is not right, let it go, everybody has a different personality, he is stupid, why you becoming a stupid? जैसे कहते हैं कि एक आदमी गलत है तो तुम क्यों गलत हो रहे हो? एक किसी ने चोरी की तो थोड़ी तुम भी उसकी चोरी करोगे. So that's way what people says in general. So you focus on positive things, become do this, focus on your self improvement. You will also say those things if I come for a therapy. बट क्योंकि वो ट्रॉमा ऑलरेडी है तो ट्रॉमा मुझे पोक करता रहेगा. सो व्हाट इज द सॉल्यूशन? हेलो.
Kapil, am I audible?
या कैन यू डिड यू हियर मी?
Yes, yes, I heard you. So I'm asking you, how do you know that we will say all these things? Have you experienced or have you been into therapy?
या बिकॉज़ आई हैव बीन टू इनटू थेरेपी. तो जनरली काफी चीजें वही होती हैं जो हमें खुद को पता होता है कि
Right.
ये फोकस पॉजिटिव पे करना चाहिए. सुबह उठो, उठते ही अपने 4 थॉट्स लिखो, शाम को ये करो, वो
Yeah.
और धीरे धीरे स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्रोसेस
So,
लो, वन स्टेप एट अ टाइम.
right. So, Kapil, as when I was talking about this, how that is, um, it, so the line that I used that time was, if you want to resolve it, if you want to become your own therapist, God bless you. It just, you need a sheer willpower. So when you start writing about what is affecting you, usually 99% of the time, the trauma, the trigger, in fact, whatever has triggered, is somewhere coming from your own past experiences that you have not made peace with, or there is some belief that you feel about yourself that somebody from outside has just poked. Like, for example, you have this underlying belief about yourself, about something that you're actually managing with your outer appearance, and somebody from outside just poked it. Now the third, so there can be a distortion. You think too much in black and white, so you have to understand what you are thinking, why you are thinking, where it's coming from. Till the time you will not make the sense of why I am getting triggered.
For example, very clear cut example, somebody, some close to you abused you. Suppose your sister or a cousin or a relative abused you. अब abuse तो कोई रोड पे भी कर सकता है, बट वो हमें थोड़ी देर गुस्सा आता है और फिर दिमाग से निकल जाता है. बट कोई रिलेटिव या क्लोज वन आपको अगर कुछ उल्टा सीधा बोल दे, समथिंग अबाउट योर पर्सनालिटी, समथिंग अबाउट यू विच इज नॉट ट्रू और समथिंग रियली बैड, तो वो
Right,
तो
Kapil.
आपको
So
पता रहेगा ना,
here,
वो तो ट्रॉमा बन गया है.
okay. So Kapil, I would suggest that you come for the first free session, okay, and then explore this. Here in this workshop, I will just suggest that if somebody from their family relative has abused you or said something that has pinched you, think about your own boundaries you are setting for yourself. Start from here, and then you take first free session. Uh, Refrain from black and white thinking that counselors ये करते हैं. Okay, there is more to everything than
No, no.
what
See, really, I really love counseling. I also counsel a lot of people generally in my friends and who, because I've been into spirituality and all that. So that's fine. I completely accept. I always, even in the group also, I ask everybody कि आप कुछ भी issue face कर रहे हो, go for a counseling. Don't hesitate to spend money or time.
I love Ali.
Because that I always say, and I still believe in it. But I'm still asking you that इस पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में, as you said कि self improvement is very
आलू बहुत
important.
वर्सेटाइल है, आलू को तुम किसके साथ भी खा सकते हो. रोटी, चावल, दाल.
Kapil, I would say this is the workshop which was with the intent of giving the idea of what trauma and how it is impacting your daily life. Now, if you want to get into the layers of it, book a session. Okay.
No problem.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. Uh, is there any question anyone has regarding the process of booking a session?
What's your name? Can I have your name?
Shikha.
So you are a senior trauma counselor.
I'm a specialist psychologist.
No, no. I think somebody said that I have specialization in trauma healing.
Right, right.
You are
So
right.
uh, I have experience in um,
Okay.
childhood issues and trauma related. Okay.
Can I have your full name, please?
Shikha Lavania.
Shikha Dawani. All right. Okay.
Okay. So, Shweta, Angela, Liz, you want to say something here?
No, Shika, I don't think I have anything to add.
Um, are we all good? Anyone has any question, please open the mic. If it's related to booking the session or asking about the process.
Hi Shika, Nisha here. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for a wonderful session, and I really admire the patience, the way you respond to each and every queries, and the tone, the pause, the content was extremely rich. Was giving us a kind of it's a kind of eye-opening session for us. I have a question like, what if the trauma is not in this person's current life? It is not affecting them. It happened no over years ago, but still they are no managing well with their life. Do they have to again start no talking about the trauma in the therapy, or they have to just stop talking about their behaviors? How is it? How can we just go ahead with the therapy? Can you just explain me?
Nisha, for trauma related experiences, if it is not affecting in your current life, it is not, you can you can have a good control on your behavior. Your past experiences is not disturbing when it comes to rational decision making or judging someone else, then you're doing fine. But then you need to observe yourself. People feel that they are 90% of the time they are from the conscious state of mind, but we are on the in the auto state. So start observing yourself, how your life is going when it comes to you, how others are getting impacted because of your behavior, how your work is getting better or affected because of something was running in your head. So trauma is just a word, but it's very deeply rooted. You have to observe it, how it is manifesting in your current life. For that, you have to observe yourself.
Loved and clear, loved and clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, so since guys we have crossed our limits of we have crossed our time limit for the workshop today. If any one of you has any question, please reach out to the Mind Tribe site. Put down your queries there. We are open for the free sessions, first free sessions, and we would like to take you personally there and then. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shikha, for the lovely session. Appreciate it. And